Welcome back, everybody. Let's talk blades, because that's what we're into. Today I am going to be talking about Ashville Steel Paragon knives. The model on the top is obviously the model that you guys have already seen before, and that is the Paragon Warlock. I have to say, I really do like this knife. I like this knife a lot. So much so that I had to have this one on my channel too, and this one is the Dreadlock. It's a little bit dusty, I'm sorry about that. I need to clean my paste mat. This thing has gathered a little bit of schmutz the past few days. What I can tell you about this knife company is that they have... the fidget factor on these knives are completely over the top, at least to me in my own perspective. Now, coming from a knife enthusiast, the one thing that I absolutely love about this model is how smooth it operates once you get it worked in. Because, you know, when you first get it, I'm going to tell you this right now, when you get a Paragon, whether it be a Warlock, a Dreadlock, or a Phoenix, which, stay tuned for that, by the way. The Phoenix will be coming on my channel here pretty soon. I'm pretty excited about it. They're absolutely fantastic knives. Unfortunately, they are gravity knives, or considered gravity knives, and these type of knives in a lot of places aren't exactly legal. I don't know why. I think that these kind of knives are actually safer to use because it takes a pinch. You have to pinch the pivot in order for the blade to come out, and a lot of people wouldn't know that this is a knife, couldn't even try to operate this knife properly, and it takes a lot longer to deploy the knife in less experienced hands. And what I mean by that is when you take out a knife, it usually has a thumb stud or a thumb hole or some sort of actuator where you could flick it open pretty quickly, relatively easily. These particular knives requires a pinch at the top and inertia to swing it open. Or, you know, using the force of gravity if you were to let it fall out of the handle. As such. That's what makes these knives so much fun. At least for me anyways, I absolutely love these knives. But it's not something that a lot of people are going to be able to access, unfortunately, because certain knife laws prohibit carry and or other issues that I'm not going to really get into. But we're here to talk about this knife in particular, and I'm going to do a comparison with the Warlock. So the Dreadlock and the Warlock. I'm going to tell you right now, the Warlock is thicker, wider, and it's just a bigger, overall, chunkier knife, in my opinion, in the hands. But I'm going to put that aside for now. We'll talk about the Dreadlock. So this thing has evolved. I want to say that it has evolved from the standard to something a little bit more, makes more sense. If you can see here on the handle, it tapers. So it's wide and normal size at the top, and then it kind of tapers slimmer as it goes towards the end of the knife. Not only that, but there's this weird kind of pattern jimping, and I say jimping because that's what it feels like anytime I were to pull this out of my pocket, because this makes it a decent grip when you pull this out of the pocket. You're able to pull it out the pocket because it has these lines that are etched in, not really etched, but carved into the handle material here, and it makes it so much easier to pull it out. Not to mention that it kind of fits the blade a little bit, so you're less likely for the blade to just, you know, it saves space too in the pocket. It's nice and it's slimmer in certain ways. If you look at this stays stationary throughout the handle, the same size, same thickness. But over here, this one you can tell has a slight taper to it, and that's nice, actually. Another thing, the mechanism on both the knives are about the same. I'm going to tell you right now, because there's a black coating on this knife right here. It prohibits this knife from opening up smoothly. When you get this knife, I'm going to tell you right now off the bat, you are going to have scratching. And what I mean by that is where this knife pivots, if you can see that, it's slightly rubbing against both handle scales, and even on the inside right here. And you can see the wear. See those like lighter gray spots there and there? That's from the wear of it being closed and opened several times. And you can see it on this side as well, a little bit lighter gray. That's to be normal. That's normal. But it also will show on the blade as well. I've noticed that when I turn it around, you can see a little bit of the scratching right here in the marring. Now I saw somebody put it was Benchmade Blue Lube on their Paragon and or Warlock, and that's to prevent the scratching. To me, it doesn't really do anything. I think it builds character. It shows that you are using the knife and it is yours. You're not going to be able to, especially if you're going to carry this and use this, that is, if you're illegal to do so, then why should you worry? You know, it's going to be a knife that you're going to use. The paint on this, I got to tell you, that is just, it's not the kind of paint that I like. I don't like the paint. I hate the paint on both the models that these have. It just looks like a typical, to me, I want to say it looks like car paint. It's paint that it's metal paint. You put it on a car and it's car paint. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody. I'm not trying to be technical or factual. That's what it looks like to me. And I got to say, I don't like it. But, and I am going to say this, I love the design of the knives. I love the mechanism, the idea behind it, the gimmick, if you want to call it that. I really do like it. I like that. Could they choose a different type of paint? Maybe. I've seen a lot of people, they carry something like this and the paint wears and it just makes it look, to a lot of people, unattractive. To me, I think it builds character. The more that you carry this knife, the more that you use it, the easier it is to open, the smoother it is, actuation-wise, everything is going to be better. It's going to become yours. But when you get this out of the knife, it's going to be stiff on opening. You're going to find yourself doing this, and this is still new, so you're going to do that a lot. And that's actually the smoothest I've seen it since it's gotten out of the box. It would not move. When you get this thing out of the box, it literally, you're going to sit there and and then you're gonna get it to do something along the lines of this, and then you'll be stuck there, and you got to work it in. But of course, after a few hours of fidgeting with this thing, it loosens up. I want to say this knife is now 2 days old. It's a very, very interesting piece, at least for me, anyways. I can't stop opening and closing this thing. I actually like it. It sounds to me, it has kind of like a firearm kind of sound with the metal sliding and clicking. It's very interesting. I love the sound of this. The sound is a very, very pleasing sound to me in my ears. And I can't help it. I really do like this. Now, if you're looking for these kinds of knives, I'm going to go, Paragon, Ashville Steel type of models. If you're looking for these, they are not cheap. They range anywhere between $250 to $300 out of your pocket for these. That is including tax and shipping, at least, from what I've gathered purchase wise. If you are interested, Blade HQ has them. You can look them up yourself if you want to. They're not cheap. Are they collectors? Yes, I think they are, because, the practicality of this being, you have to teach yourself. If you're new, you have to teach yourself patience, especially if the blade is painted. You're gonna have, your fingers are gonna be raw after doing this and then trying to figure out what grip works without trying to grip. Because if you grip the handle in any way, you hinder the blade from operating smoothly, coming in and out of the handle. And that's something you're going to learn. Also, another thing that you have to worry about is the weight. This thing is a little bit heavy, so it's kind of like a brick in your pocket, and that could bother a lot of people. But you have to keep in mind that the handles are aluminum. Both are aluminum. I have to say the pocket clip is fantastic. I don't know what it is about this pocket clip, but to me it works. It works great. It's nice and strong, and you don't get it caught on anything, which is fantastic. And it's very subtle. It's not a huge pocket clip, and it doesn't create any hot spots, at least for me in my hands anyways. In this particular knife, I really do enjoy it. So let's go ahead and get into the specs of this particular one, and then we'll go ahead and do a comparison between the two. So the Dreadlock and the Warlock, we'll see which one weighs more. You're looking at 5.91 ounces, 6 ounces. It's over my sweet spot. I'd love to keep my knives around 5 ounces. And 6.23, so yeah, this one's way heavier. It's got a lot more metal to it than this, obviously. And I've noticed that if you look on this right here, you see that? That's how wide the blade is. Now look at here. Look at that. That is much wider. So you got more steel on this knife and a bigger, thicker handle. But both are made of aluminum handles, and I really do like that. So we'll go ahead and get into the blade length of the Dreadlock. And it is a 4-inch blade, but I'm going to go ahead and do that for you guys on camera so you can see. 4-inch blade with an overall 9 3/8, almost a 9 You know what? No, I'm going to say 9.5 altogether, lengthwise. 5.5-inch handle when it's closed. And of course, how wide it is. Let's check it out, everybody. So the blade itself comes in at a 2.7. And the handle, and there's going to be two parts of this handle because it tapers. You know, at the top it's nice and a little bit wide, and down here it's a little bit thinner. You're looking at a 16.2 up top, and then down here at a 14.1, 14.2, give or take. So it does taper. You see that? How it goes wide, and then it goes and it goes down like that. Really nice. This, like I said, acts as grip. So when you pull it out the pocket, it actually makes it that much better. This doesn't really have that. I mean, it has these, so you could do this, but you have all the weight down here, so it just feels a little bit weird. You don't have a good purchase. You know, this would be better. This would make more sense. And that's what they did with this. At first, I thought it was a little bit weird, but it actually works. It works very well. So I gotta say, I really do enjoy Ashville Steel. Both Paragon and Warlock. Both Paragon and Warlock. This is the Paragon Warlock. What am I talking about? Both Warlock and Dreadlock. Now, I think the name is kind of stupid. The Dreadlock. I don't know why, but anytime I think of Dreadlock, I think of either some sort of Jamaican island-related knife or Predator. Like, this would be Predator's weapon because that dude's got his dreads on fleek. But I gotta tell you, though, I really enjoy this knife. I really do. I really, really do. Because it is a Tonto tip that is double-edged. You see that? It's sharpened up here and down here. And it's kind of a modified Tonto tip because it also has, if you can see it, there's a little bit right here. So it's got like, you know what I'm saying? It's really interesting. So right there you see it. Paragon Ashville Steel USA S30V. Yes, you're getting S30V on this blade. It is fantastic. And then on this side it's nice and blank for you. So your imagination can run wild. But like I said, when you get this, and there's a patent number, when you get this knife, you are going to learn, and it's going to be frustrating. It really is. You're going to learn how this works, and you're going to learn whether or not you're going to probably not going to like it at first. When I was first handed one of these, and I was asked how to open it, and trying to figure it out was actually kind of frustrating because I've seen videos on it, and it was still frustrating even then because I was still trying to figure out how these knives open because, yeah, you get it. You're supposed to push this in, but you're not supposed to use the rest of your fingers to grip while pushing this in. Otherwise, it will not open all the way. And that means that you really have to get your motor functions out of those fingers and only use these two to grip while holding the entire knife. And that is not something that I'm used to, especially with normal knives. You always have to have some sort of stable grip when you're flicking it open or whatever that opens the knife. Because this is an encapsulated blade inside of this aluminum shell, you actually have to readjust your grip and only use these two fingers to open it. And that is going to be something you're going to teach yourself, because then you're going to have to figure out, how am I going to move in order to get this thing to open correctly? I mean, what I just did now seemed easy, but when you have a knife that has the blade coated in that paint, it makes it pretty difficult to, you're going to have to teach yourself, like, I got to do it this way, got to do that way. At one point, I was literally doing this. I literally had it like this, and I was like, okay, I'm putting way too much force now in these three fingers. So I put these three fingers underneath here, and then I jolted it forward instead of up and out. I did it forward, and then it slid open, it just popped open. But at one point, I ended up slicing the top of my finger right here just a little bit because I actually felt the blade come across my finger as the weight of the handle shifted, opening this knife. But I'm a knife guy. I enjoy knives. I don't care what they are, where they come from. I always appreciate a good knife. So with this being what it was, I had to teach myself, and I learned pretty quickly what works and what doesn't work. And that's the same thing I'm trying to let you guys know. If you guys purchase one of these, you really have to teach yourself, or you have to really find out what works and what doesn't work. So you got to play around with it a little bit. A lot of people sit there and say, well, you don't play with your silverware, right? You don't play with your forks, your spoons. But I'm advising you to play with your knives. No, actually, I'm not. That's actually quite dangerous. That's how I learned, as I just play with my knives. I literally see what works, what doesn't. I'll do reverse opening. I'll, flip open it. I'll switch fingers and flick it open a different way, and I'll spidey flick it or whatever. And you fidget around with something long enough, you find out what works and what doesn't. And I really like these knives. I really do. I think they're great. Downers, obviously, you have to learning how to open this thing is one of them. It's going to be a major downer because you're going to get frustrated. You're going to get a little sore in certain places of your hand because you're teaching yourself a different way with a different kind of knife. To open it and to close it, especially with something that weighs a little bit. This does, that's the second downer on this thing is the weight of these knives are a little bit on the heavy side, but they are freaking cool, and I absolutely love them. And because of that, do I suggest this knife to anybody? Heck yes, I do. And I only say that because I don't mind being frustrated with something that I'm passionate about. And I'm passionate about blades. Being frustrated with it just makes you stronger at it, and it makes you better aware of how certain things work within the genre. You know what I mean? It makes you stronger. And it makes the situation a little bit better because once you conquer it, you know what to do with it. I know that sounds a little stupid, but I mean, that's how it is in my head anyways. My method to my madness, I guess. Now, a lot of people ask, how sharp is it? I don't know. I want to see. I'm actually quite curious. So here it is, a little bit of paper right here. And I'm going to go ahead and... Yeah, this thing's still new. But why not? It's sharp. It's decently sharp. It's not hair-popping sharp, but it has a workable edge that I have to say really does do a decent job at cutting. Now, the only thing is this doesn't have a lock, so holding it together keeps the knife from opening and that creates a lock on this knife, so that way the knife doesn't go anywhere as far as the blade moving anyways. Now, to let you know, there is going to be a little bit of blade play up and down, and maybe just a tad side to side. That's completely normal. It's necessary for the mechanism. So just keep that in mind. You're going to see these scales you're going to have a little bit of handle play. That's normal. All right, that's how it came out of the factory for me, and I understand that that's just kind of how it works. You can see it a little bit. You see that? How it's loose? But this whole entire knife is being held together by the pivot mechanism that allows the knife to operate the way it does. So once you get that in your mind, these are not bad knives. And the blade play doesn't really bother me. I mean, not the blade play, the handle play doesn't really bother me. It's necessary for the knife. And that's okay. It's a bit on the expensive side. It is. But the novelty of the knife is something that doesn't just catch my attention, but sells me to really, really intrigue me to want this knife. So, whatever. And check it out on Blade HQ. They still have some, I hope. I don't know when you guys are watching this. But they do have some good stuff there. As far as selection goes, I'm not sure. I don't know. I can only hope that they have a decent amount left anyways. So anyways, go ahead and slash that like button, stab that subscribe, slice that bell icon so you guys are notified anytime that I post my happy butt some new videos. And within these crazy times, it's getting a little bit warmer out there, so be kind, be safe, please, please carry responsibly, and I'll see you guys in the next video.